on this episode of The Powers Project.
Mindset and mindset training and all that, that's just become the new passion of our day. And I think passion's a load of crap, and I pretty much think mindset's a load of crap. I have never had the right mindset to go exercise, not a day in my life. I am never in the mood. My attitude's not right about it. I hate doing it. It doesn't, you can't convince me that it's a great idea. I hate it. My mind's not right about it. I'm not going to do it based on my mindset. Well, however, if I just do it, if I just do the action, mindset follows action that creates good results. The good results drive the more action, and then my mind gets right afterwards. Sometimes my mind has never been right about it, even during or afterwards. But the point is, action drives things, not mindset.
Right.
Not always.
We're live. Larry, thank you for joining me today. I know you have a busy schedule, so I really appreciate you taking the time out to be with us.
Sure, happy to do it.
So for people who don't know, you are...
How can they not?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm sure there's people on the left who don't. You're known as the pit bull of personal development, and I understand that when you're about 45, you had a life-changing experience. You were a motivational speaker, and something happened. So, what changed things for you?
Yeah, I am known as the pit bull of personal development. I've had that registered trademark for over 20 years. I had, I guess, what most people would consider a midlife crisis. I was your typical professional motivational speaker kind of guy, and just got fed up. It was based on a lack of authenticity. That's what I got fed up with. I was saying all this motivational crap that all the motivational bozos are out there saying about you can have a positive attitude, and whatever you want to be, you can be. Whatever you want to do, you can do. Have whatever you want, all the BS that we hear from all those guys. And I realized that the things I was saying on stage, I didn't truly believe. So it was that lack of authenticity that drove me to, I'll call it a breaking point, where I was willing to throw everything away to get away from my own message. And I went off into the desert and I had some time with myself, you know, that hero's journey kind of thing. And realized that I had to, if nothing else, be authentic so I could enjoy what was coming out of my mouth. And the next time I went on stage, I made that decision, let my manager know and my wife know, and that I was going to be authentic, the real deal. And somebody heckled me the next time I went on stage. And I wasn't used to being heckled, and I turned on him and said, you know, buddy, you ought to shut up, stop whining, and get a life. And the crowd gave me a standing ovation at that moment. And I said, that's probably a pretty good line. I ought to keep that line in here. And then I started telling the story of the guy heckling me and saying, shut up, stop whining, get a life. And it always got a huge reaction. So I wrote a book called Shut Up, Stop Whining, and Get a Life. And the first week it was out, it went to #1 on the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. As a result of that book, I got my own television show on A&E. I wrote 5 more New York Times, Wall Street Journal bestsellers. And that was really the start of my big career. I had a pretty good career going already, but that was the start of my big career, all because I was unwilling to be inauthentic.
Well, that takes a lot of courage. So, you know, and I think that's one of the things that are lacking in people is that courage to challenge themselves and look at themselves and go, you know what, I'm not happy with where I'm at or who I am right now, and I need a change. And, you know, kudos to you that you were able to do that. And it actually paid off, you know, in a huge way for you, not just financially, but I mean, you know, as far as personal growth as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, it comes down, you know, the book I wrote, What's Wrong with Damn Near Everything. That's my last big book that I wrote. And I realized after writing 6 New York Times, Wall Street Journal bestsellers about do this and you'll be more successful at life or your personal finances or parenting or business. I'd written all these books telling people what to do. And after 20 years of doing that, and selling millions of copies of books translated in over 20 languages around the world, I realized you can tell people what to do all day long and they don't do it.
You're right.
So they weren't doing what I told them to do. They'd buy the book and they'd feel good about, here's my book that tells me what I ought to be doing. Now, I'm not going to do those things because people won't do what is contrary to who they really are. So the book that I wrote, What's Wrong with Damn Near Everything, was about we're not true to our core values. Now, my little story of changing, going to the desert and doing all that, and the lack of authenticity and all that, that's because what I was doing was in conflict with my core values. Most people have never identified their core values. If I walked up to the average person on the street and said, tell me 5 things you believe in that I couldn't talk you out of, I couldn't hold a gun to your head and get you to go another direction, this is what you believe. They'd look at me like a dog looking at a ceiling fan. They wouldn't have a clue what to say, because most people have never really clearly identified even 5 things that they really believe and they will not compromise about. And when you have identified your values, what's important to you, the thing that drives how you do things, what you believe about things, how you vote, how you run your business, how you run your family, when you've identified even just 5 things, life gets much easier. That's where the problem is. We try to get people to do this list of things, and they'll start, but they won't stick with it, and things don't change because it's inconsistent with who they are. We need to work more on who people are, not about what they do. You get people right on who they are, they'll do the right thing.
Well, you make a great point, because you know who Gary V is, or Gary Vaynerchuk?
Yeah, I know him.
Okay. So he, one of the things he'll do is he'll tell people exactly like you what to do. And he'll say, look, I'm giving you something I'm going to do. And he goes, and I'm not worried, because he goes, I know I'm going to put it out there and none of you are going to do anything with it. And he's right, because something you and Chris had talked about was the mindset. And I believe mindset is a big part of it. But you make the point, and I 100% agree, is that mindset isn't anything if you don't apply action behind it. And you're not going to apply action if it's not who you are. And I think that's why when you have all these get rich quick schemes, like, oh, get into real estate. And I go, why are you getting into real estate? Because you think you're going to make money. You don't like dealing with people. And if you're dealing in real estate, you're going to have to deal with people. And I think people they're looking at, what they think is the end goal, and they don't realize what it's going to take to get there. And so, like you said, they don't act on it, or they don't act on it for very long.
Yeah, I know that mindset and mindset training and all that's just become the new passion of our day. And I think passion's a load of crap, and I pretty much think mindset's a load of crap. I have never had the right mindset to go exercise, not a day in my life. I am never in the mood. My attitude's not right about it. I hate doing it. It doesn't, you can't convince me that it's a great idea. I hate it. My mind's not right about it. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Based on my mindset. Well, however,
good.
If I just do it, if I just do the action, mindset follows action that creates good results. The good results drive the more action, and then my mind gets right afterwards. Sometimes my mind has never been right about it, even during or afterwards. But the point is, action drives things, not mindset.
Right.
Not always.
Right. And I agree. And I think when I say mindset, that is it, is that your mindset is that you're going to do this, that you're going to use action, that your mindset isn't that, oh, I'm just going to sit back and think about it and it's just going to happen to me. That's the wrong kind of mindset. To me, I just got done watching, I don't know if you've seen it. There's a Netflix special called The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. And you see how this man became the very best player. And it had nothing to do with his mindset, like thinking, oh, I'm going to be the greatest player. He had action to back that up. He had discipline. He had determination. He had desire. He had those 3 things that made him the greatest. So he was out there working his ass off when everybody else wanted to go home. and he went above and beyond what everyone else did, which made him the greatest player, you know. And so it wasn't just his skills that got him there. It was that desire, it was that discipline that got him there, that hard work that got him there as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And see, most people only do things when it feels good to them. You know, you used Jordan. I'm a big Tiger Woods fan.
Yeah.
And, you know, Tiger Woods hits 1,000 golf balls a day, 1,000 golf balls a day in the rain, when it's cold, with a broken back. All the stuff he's willing to do. People that achieve at that level in any area of life or business do it not because it makes them happy, not because it feels good to them, not because their mindset is right, or any of those things. They do it because it's their damn job and they have a commitment. It's a commitment to excellence. And that commitment to excellence, and knowing that they have a fiduciary responsibility to their parents, not to their parents, to their customers, to their sponsors, if they're one of the sports guys like Tiger, they have a fiduciary responsibility to perform at a certain level, plus an inner drive that's based on their core values that makes them do the work regardless. It's that do the work regardless that sets people apart. We're always talking about, isn't that an extraordinary person? Oh, bull. There are no extraordinary people. There are only ordinary people willing to do extraordinary things.
So because you've mentioned this, and how do we get these people who sit there, because you said their core values, and it's not in their core values so right now to do those extraordinary things, to go out, you know, they like you said, they want to sit there and say, oh, I do anything for this, and they won't do anything for it.
Yeah.
How do you take the average person to get them to that point where they will do it, where they wake up and they go, you know what, Larry's got a great point. I got to do something about this if I want, you know, better things out of life.
How do I get people to do that?
Yes.
I don't bother with them. I don't give a damn what anybody does. I really don't. I stand on stage and tell people, I don't care about you people in the audience. I don't give a damn what you do with your life. Walk out of here, go to prison, be a failure, I don't care. I have no vested interest in you, period. I don't get you to change by wanting you to change. You see, we're stupid about how we try to get people to change. We think people change when we want them to. People never change until it hurts so damn bad they don't have another choice. So when I tell people, don't look to me, I don't want the credit for you changing your life. I don't want the blame for you not changing your life. You're the one that has to deal with your stupidity, not me. I take care of me, I'm good. My responsibility is to say, this is what works for me through my research and experience. This works for a lot of other folks. Perhaps if what you're doing doesn't work, you might want to try that, knowing they won't try it until it's so bad they don't have any other choice. So the first thing we have to do is stop trying to help people who need help. To hell with them. I don't help anybody who needs anything. I help people who want it so badly, they'll do whatever it takes. And then I show them the way, but I don't become emotionally connected to that. I'll say, this is how you can do it. If you're willing to do it, and yeah, it sucks. If you're willing to do it, you'll start to see results, and then the results will motivate them to continue. That's it. But it's real hard to get people to say, I don't give a damn about you. Go do what you want to do. Because we think we're supposed to care so much. Bull.
You said, and that's what I wanted to drag out of you, because you said something to the effect that people don't move from pleasure, they move from pain. And I agree with you 100%. And so you talk about this being a more powerful approach, and that you make things so painful, they want to be anywhere else but there. And
yeah, that's motivational speakers will tell you it's so pretty over here that you're going to want to go there. No, I don't believe that. That's why I really I own the registered trademark to the World's Only Irritational Speaker. I can't motivate you to get from where you are to a better place. I can make you so irritated with where you are, you'll do anything to go to a better place. And when people feel that level of irritation, that pain. They experience it. They emotionally go through it. That's when they will be willing to do something on their own.
Okay, so I think it's important that people understand that you're an optimistic person, and
Yeah.
and I don't want anyone to sit there and go, well, he sounds very pessimistic, because you're not. I think you're an
Oh,
extremely optimistic person. You just don't believe in just pointing out the positive side. You believe in that the negative side has a powerful effect as well.
we
Is
make
that
positive change in our life when we get negative about our life. If we're never willing to get negative about things, we'll never do a damn thing about it. Until you look at your situation and say, wow, I'm broke, or wow, I'm fat and unhealthy, or wow, my relationships suck. Nobody likes me. My wife's going to leave me. My kids hate me. Whatever. I'm going to get fired. Until you get a realistic negative look at the way things are, you will not take positive action. Negative situations drive positive action. The consequences of our stupidity and of our failures and of our bad decisions, it's the consequences that drive better behavior.
See, I see the challenge being is that most people aren't willing to be honest with themselves, and that's what it takes. It takes honesty to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and go, I'm a dumbass, or I'm a fuck up, or whatever you might, whatever you think of yourself in certain areas of your life. Because as you said, we've been told to sit there and say we love ourselves. Now, all the times I say, look, you can love yourself, but you can also look at yourself and go, but there's things about me that I need to change, because
Yep.
these, just because I sit there and go, I love myself, doesn't mean I'm perfect and I don't need change. And I go, and when you're honest with yourself, it reflects in your actions. Because when somebody sits there who's extremely overweight and obese and they go, I love myself, I go, bullshit, you don't love yourself, because if you did, you wouldn't do this to yourself. How can you be overweight and to the point of putting your health at risk? Would you do that to your kid? No, because you love your kid. You wouldn't let that happen to your kid. But you're sitting here trying to convince me you love yourself while you're shoveling crap down your face that you know is harmful to you. That doesn't look like love to me.
Yeah, I took a lot of crap in one of my books. I said, if you're morbidly obese and unhealthy, it's not about loving yourself. You may accept yourself because you're unwilling to do anything about it, but I can tell you this, you don't love your kids. Woo, that fired them up. You don't love your kids. What do you mean I don't love my children, Larry? You don't love your kids enough to do what it takes for you to be healthy and stick around and take care of them or be with them or enjoy them. You're willing to die early. You put that hamburger and French fries, and I love hamburger and French fries, but I don't eat 6 of them a day either.
Right.
But you're willing to put that above your family? Nah, I'm with you. They don't love themselves. They don't love their family.
And do you see this as an issue all across, especially in this country, is that, one of the things that David Letterman said, this, it had to be at least 30 years ago. And I think about this, I go, 30 years ago, and David Letterman was talking about how people don't respect each other anymore. We don't have any respect. And, and my contention is that we can't respect others when we don't respect ourselves. And so we're fooling ourselves by telling ourselves that we love ourselves, that we respect ourselves, and yet our actions, again, and this is why I love your message, is because it's all about actions. He's like, your actions don't show that. So quit bullshitting yourself and be honest with yourself, because until you get to that point, like you said, they're never going to act on it.
Well, I have discovered this over the years. People are liars.
Yeah, they are.
And I pretty much don't trust anything anyone says. I just don't. I look at their results, and the results are rarely the results of their words. The results are there because of their actions. And so I always measure results and understand results come from their actions. I've always said you can't get a good deal from a bad guy, at least not for very long. Uh, and because who you really are always shows up in the actions you take. Who you really are shows up in the actions you take. Some people just say stupid things, some people say dumb things, but they have really good actions and still get good results. Some people have the best words of the. I've owned lots of businesses. I've interviewed lots of folks. I have had people that were the greatest interviews in the world go, wow, she's going to be amazing. He's going to be great. And they sucked. They fooled me.
Right.
Those people are what I call articulate incompetence. They are so good at talking, but their actions can't back it up. They talk the talk, can't walk the walk. And so I pretty much listen to what everybody says and go, don't care. Show me what they're doing. Show me what they've done. Show me their results. Because results never lie. Never.
Okay, so obviously we have a segment of society out there who will sit there and go, you know, what you're saying, Larry, sounds great, all about taking action. But here's the problem. And then they start going into their victimhood about why they
Yeah.
can't take action.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to completely dismiss the all the challenges that people have, because there are challenges out there. Systemic racism does affect blacks and people of color on at a certain level, but at some point we have to take responsibility for ourselves and go, look, regardless of what cards I was dealt in life, it's I have to do something about it here, because no one else is going to do it for me. And if I sit here and just keep whining about the hand I was dealt, then I'm never going to move forward. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, I would. I don't deny the injustices of the world. I don't deny the fact that things are horrible for groups of people and individuals. I don't deny any of that. But here's what I do understand. Throughout history, somebody from every culture, background, physical infirmity, uh, uh, whatever you are born with, it doesn't matter. Somebody figured out how to step away and make it and do well and become rich or successful or famous or what. Somebody has done it. I really am one of those guys who believes if one can, we all can. I
I
really, I, I really believe that. If that person can deal with the injustice and the unfairness and the horrible hand they've been dealt, if they can deal with it, you could too. And so that's what we have to say. What did they do to deal with it? I'll guarantee you this. They didn't play the victim, and they recognized, they acknowledged, but they didn't play the victim. They didn't wallow. They stood up for themselves, stood up in the situation, and took positive action to create a positive result. That's what they did.
I had a guest on just recently, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. I'm not sure if you know him. He was a best-selling author. He wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice. And I read this back in the early 90s because I wanted to go, okay, a black choice. What's this book about? And what he did was basically the same thing that uh, what's his name did.
Napoleon Hill?
Yeah, Napoleon Hill. Thank you. Which was give stories of people who became successful, and that's where I first encountered Madam C.J. Walker, whose parents were slaves, and she was born just like a year or two after slavery was ended, and her father literally did not have a nickel to his name, and was kicked off the property because of course the slave owners couldn't pay them, so they kicked him off the property. And here's a woman that not only not only being black, not only being born just right out of slavery, she started a business that went on during the 1918 pandemic, and she became a millionaire. So I was like, there's nobody that I can think of in this world today who can sit there with those same, with those same obstacles and go, oh yeah, well, I have it harder than her. I don't like, how did you have it harder than her? They didn't have any kind of system set up to make sure that you had housing and food and stuff. Her parents had to make that on their own. So I completely agree with you. I think that somebody out there has already done it and shown that it can be done. So it just comes down to whether you're willing to do it. And like you said, that gets to the core of the person.
Willingness is really always the key. Ability um, is overrated. There are lots of people with a lot of talent who never do very well because they weren't willing to do what it takes. There are people with very little talent in life who do extremely well because they are willing to do what it takes. Willingness is where it's at. Life is not about the haves and the have-nots. Life is about the wills and the will-nots. And that's what I like to remind folks of and ask them, will you do what it takes? And people rarely will. That's just what it comes down to, though. Will you do what it takes? No, probably not.
So when they stay in this situation, and here's the thing, again, when they're playing victim, this is what I personally see, is that they feel hurt, they feel left out, this is why we have this outcry that of fairness. And like you said, life isn't fair, and you need to take responsibility for your life, not anyone else's, for your life. And I've been a personal trainer for over 30 years, and I have the same thing and the same outlook as you do. I tell people when they lose the weight, when they get bigger and stronger, I go, it's not because of me, it's because of you put the work in. All I did was tell you what you need to do, show you what you need to do, and you did it. Without you doing it, this doesn't happen.
Yep.
And I'm also not responsible when you don't get to those goals, because you refuse to do the things I showed you. And that's how I see you, is like you put the information out there, and it's up to them whether they use it or not. But it lies solely on their shoulders. And you told in one of the podcasts of yours I listened to on your Real Man podcast, you were talking about Roger Ailes, and you said that despite him being a despicable man, and again, I didn't know him personally like you did. I just know what I've heard of him. But he said something very profound, which was, people don't want to be informed, they want to feel informed. And I thought, holy crap, man, that is so true, because this is why people only listen to information which reinforces their feelings. And I think that's why we are where we are today, where everything's split down the middle pretty much. You have one group on one side, one group on the other side, and they refuse to listen to each other, and they refuse to call out their own side for the BS that goes on.
Yeah, we have, and I didn't personally know Roger Ailes. I just like that quote, and I've read a lot about him. And yeah, I'm a regular on Fox News and all that stuff. But the quote spoke to me, and I love that quote so much, is that we rely on our feelings, which is based on, and most people right now, I believe, are looking for someone to confirm what they already believe. They're not open to believing different. So confirmation bias. We all go out onto the world and we turn on the television to the channels that we like, and we go to the Facebook pages and social media pages that we enjoy, and we look for people who will agree with what we already believe.
Exactly.
And if they agree with us, they're good people. If they challenge our thinking in any way, well, then we become horrible, nasty, terrible people. And it goes back to what you mentioned earlier about respect. We don't know how to become disagreeable without becoming disrespectful. I love to disagree. I enjoy a fight. I like to say, this is my opinion, this is your opinion, these are, and then we go at it and we laugh while we're doing it. And I believe when two people disagree in a respectful way, we all walk away saying, I didn't change my mind, but I understand the other person's side a whole lot better. So we all win. When two people disagree and you've expanded their understanding of a situation, everyone wins. But when all we do is say, this is what I believe, now I'm going to surround myself with information and people who support what I believe, we all lose. That's what I believe.
I completely agree with you, because I'm that person. I like having spirited debates about everything, because again, my whole podcast, as I've said many times, is about challenging your beliefs, challenging your knowledge, and looking at things from different perspectives. Well, you can't do that if you sit in a bubble where everyone in there has the same perspective as you. And so I have a client who is a dear friend of mine, and he's a lawyer. And so I I try to goad him into debating me on topics, and I'll play devil's advocate. I don't even have to believe in what I'm saying. I just want to create some new ideas, and
Sure.
he hates it. He's like, I don't want to waste. He gives me this look like he doesn't want to be bothered with it. But he's a great guy. Um, but I think you're right. I think that needs, instead of sitting there because I disagree with Larry, I'm going to sit there and go, Larry, you're a moron. That's not a debate. That's me getting defensive and taking it personally. And I'm sure you don't either. I don't take disagreement personally. I want to know why you disagree, because I'm going to sit there and go, Larry's an intelligent man. So if he has a different opinion, he must have gotten there, by thinking about this. He
Yeah.
didn't.
What's the logic behind it? Yeah.
Right, exactly. And trying to figure out what the logic is behind it. I may not agree, like you said, after we're done, I may not agree. Or I may go, Larry's got a point and I need to look into this more. But when we shut ourselves down, where we stay in that bubble and just surround us with other people, I get called, you know, I got called a Trump supporter. I got called a Hillary supporter, because I will go from on both sides and call both sides out. And whenever you call that side out, they'll automatically call you the name that they find most despicable. And
Sure.
and we see that with every extreme group out there who can only think like the herd, like that herd mentality.
Well, we really have, and I love the term confirmation bias. We all only select who we're going to be around in our personal lives, professional lives. We hire people like us if we own a business. That's stupid. Why would you hire somebody who thinks just like you? Why wouldn't you hire somebody who thinks a little differently to bring in new ideas and fresh ideas and maybe expand your market or your business or whatever? But we are all looking to surround ourselves with people who think and do like we do, so we will feel better about ourselves, which takes us back to it's how we feel.
Right.
And it should be more about what is true rather than how we feel about what is true.
Well, and again, I 100% agree. I think truth is based off of what your knowledge is. So just because your knowledge is limited and you believe that's the truth, if you're not willing to expand that knowledge, then your truth isn't going to be expanded, and it's not really truth. It's just your personal truth. And that's one thing where I talk about science. Science has the truth, but when science realizes that that truth is flawed, the truth changes at that time. We found out that Pluto wasn't a planet. Then the truth had to change because it was no longer a planet. They didn't sit there and go, no, it's a planet, because we've always believed that, and that's what we're going to do. The truth is, science proved that it wasn't a planet. And then I think it went back and it was a planet. I don't remember now.
Listen, opinion doesn't make it a planet or not a planet.
Right, right.
Opinion doesn't matter. How you feel about Pluto doesn't matter.
It's like I grew up, and when I was in school, Pluto was a planet, and it's always going to be a planet, regardless of what science says.
Never get to change your mind. Sadly, though, that's how people are. They never get to change their mind. They never get to learn more and make a new decision based on new truths.
Well,
Look at what we're doing right now about coronavirus. We didn't know much about it when we started. We know a whole lot more about it now. But people are still being held accountable for what they said or did 4 months ago. We didn't know much 4 months ago. We're not allowed to make new decisions based on new information. You've got to be held to what you said 4 months ago. We just lost our damn minds.
well, hell, I mean, they're still holding people accountable for what things they've said and did 40 years ago. Of course, they're still, I mean, it's gotten ridiculous. And I go, look, you can't hold people up to the same criteria of today as things that happened 40 years ago. I go, you look at Foster Brooks, who was a comedian, and his
Yep.
whole shtick was to be the drunk alcoholic, right?
Yep.
Well, somewhere along the line, we go, okay, alcoholism isn't funny anymore. It just isn't a funny bit. And so we evolved. but you can't sit back and go, well, Foster Brooks was a jerk for, for making fun of alcoholism or being drunk or something, because that's not where we were. We grew up. It's just like, to me, it would be like taking, the 15-year-old Larry Winget and going, well, when you were 15, you said this and this, and now I'm going to hold you accountable, 5 decades later, and go, how does that work?
Listen, I don't know, but I experience it every single day. People have just become mean, especially on social media. I get death threats for things that I say. I'm used to all. I used to post a Friday night brown liquor and cigar post, just a picture on my social media, Friday night brown liquor and cigar. And I was accused of being an alcoholic. And I go, no, I really don't drink very much, guys. I have a
Yeah.
drink on Friday nights, 2 fingers. But it doesn't make me an alcoholic. I've been told my grandkids are ugly and my dogs are ugly.
Jesus.
Don't make fun of my dog. That bothers me. We become a mean society. And I can put up with disagreement. I can even put up with some disrespect. I just can't tolerate the meanness that exists in the world right now. If we can't be anything else in the world, we ought to just be nice to each other. Just be nice to each other.
Yeah, but in order to be nice, again, that comes down to being able to respect other people, and until they start respecting themselves, I don't see that. I think what
Yep.
I do see is people looking for ways to shut everybody else's voice down. So, for instance, you want to shut a man down, you don't want to hear his opinion, you say he's mansplaining. So that way, men feel like, okay, I got to shut up, because if I say something, they're going to say I'm mansplaining. If you're white and you say something, regardless of what it's about, then you have white fragility. If you say something about trans people, that men who become women shouldn't be able to play in women's sports. Now you're a transphobe, and there's all these names that we call everybody and these words that we make up to just shut everyone's voice down, so that the only ones who are speaking are the ones who are on the extremes of those points. And I refuse to let that happen. I go, when you tell me I'm mansplaining, that tells me that you don't like what I had to say, and you're trying to take my voice away because you don't want to hear what I had to say. I have as much right to this conversation as anybody else. And if you don't want to hear it, then don't listen. But you're not going to stop me from speaking. And I think
There was a
that's what we
study
got to
came
do.
out yesterday about politics, uh, about people who are willing to discuss politics. And we have about 70% of the country right now they're just not willing to discuss it any longer because it's just too much trouble. I don't pick a topic. You mentioned some. I don't care what topic. You could pick a topic. Listen, the most hate mail I ever got was when I said in a meme that you go ahead and be a vegetarian if you want to. Only 3% of people stick with it. So all of you vegetarians, I'm going to welcome 97% of you back to my side pretty soon. Holy crap. That was the most hate mail I ever got. And that's just a fact. I mean, that was just the truth. Only 3% stick with it long term. The rest of them eventually come back to me. But 70% of the people are not willing to discuss politics any longer. The only ones that are willing are the ones on the extremes, the ones on the far right and the far left. They're still willing.
Right.
And it's just a damn shame that we can't just have a respectful conversation any longer. And we expect everybody to agree with us or they should be shut down. Anybody that disagrees with us, and listen, one side's as bad as the other. I'm not picking
Yep.
sides on any of that. We've
Exactly.
become horrible, mean, closed-minded people who only want to associate with people who think just like us. And if our thoughts are challenged, if our actions are challenged, if anything we've said in the history of our speech is ever challenged, holy crap, what do we do with that? And we
Exactly.
become mean.
Very mean. And even something as simple as what you mentioned earlier, wearing a mask. You would think that we were deciding on, on some major world issue that's going to change the world, to either negatively or positively. And I know some people are going to go, well, it does. You know, the thing is like there's no middle ground for most people. I think for most of us there is, but like you said, we're not willing to speak up because as soon as you do, you get attacked from one side or the other for disagreeing with them. And I think the majority of people are going, it's not worth it. It's not
It's just
worth.
not worth
Right.
it. You can see a lot of us just listen. I'm the perfect example. And I got friends that are coming to me saying, Larry, we need your voice. I've become very, very quiet on all things going on in the world right now. I've just shut myself down because I think it's very, very noisy out there. So what happens is you start to see people just say, I'm not going there. I don't want the pushback. I don't want the negativity. I don't want to be called names. I don't want you attacking my family, my dogs, my grandkids. The fact that I have a drink on Friday night, or I don't want to put up with you anymore. I don't want to put up with all the negativity out there anymore. So I'll just pull back. And you get enough of us who pull back, and then that's a problem.
So, right, and that's what I was going to say. So, and again, you don't owe the world anything. Your thing is to take care of Larry Winget and your family. But if we do that, if enough of us do that, then don't we kind of surrender and where the extremes are talking now, and they're the only ones making the points, and they're the ones who get their narrative pushed to the to
Well, right
push
now we
their
do live in
agenda.
a society where the person who screams the loudest is the one who gets hurt. And that's on both sides. Any side of anything, the one who screams loudest is the one who gets heard. Eventually, the pendulum always swings, and when it does, it swings too far. But eventually, the pendulum slows down, and this quieter group of people who haven't added to the noise, stuck to the core values of taking care of themselves and doing the right thing, understanding that noise doesn't change things long term. Noise changes things in the short term. And the short term doesn't always get reflected in the long term. And if we focus on doing the right thing because we're the right kind of people. When I wrote What's Wrong with Damn Near Everything, I did an interview with Brian Kilmeade on his radio show. And he said, so Larry, how do we fix the world? And I said, we don't. He said, is it lost? I said, maybe so. All I can do is take care of me. And that's a full-time job. But if you go out and take care of you, that influences maybe your household and your kids. And so they start to take care of themselves. And if you take care of you and I take care of me and I do the right thing and you do the right thing and he does the right thing and she does the right thing, you get enough individuals that stick to their core values of doing the right thing, even though it might be a different thing. But we're doing the right thing, and that's how the world changed. The world changes from the inside out, not from the outside in. So we need to be less concerned about the noise, shut our mouths, put our heads down, go back to being good people, and go and work. That's it.
That's great advice. I do want to talk to you about one thing before we go today. Out of all your best-selling books, I would probably say your book, "Your Kids Are Your Own Fault," is probably the most important book that you've written, because I think that it shows how we got to having the society that we have today, and and having the uh, problems that we're having today, whether it's playing victim or whatever. I do want to ask you this because I have a theory. I believe that the first generation, entitled generation, came after the greatest generation, because the greatest generation who fought in World War II had kids and wanted to make a better life for their kids. And so they wanted them to have it easier. They wanted them to have better advantages than they had. And so they worked hard to make sure their kids did better. And I see it today, even in my parents' age range, where they feel just as entitled as these kids, as some of these kids out there, and they're just as rude as some of these kids. I remember listening to you on Oris's podcast, and you were talking about how you opened the door for everybody, and how no one says thank you anymore. And I'm not talking about kids. I'm talking about old ladies who know better. You were raised with manners. What happened to them? You know
You know,
how?
we, especially boomers, I'm a boomer, we're pretty good at trashing millennials.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, the rudest, dumbest, worst savers, laziest group, boy, I'm going to get in trouble for all this.
Yeah, I
Not the
agree.
millennials. They're
No,
not the millennials.
no.
It's the boomers who raised those millennials. Millennials are a mess today because of their lazy, broke parents. Now, I'll get a lot of crap over that, but here's the deal. The stats back that up. Boomers didn't save the money. Boomers are the one who got in trouble during the housing bubble in 2008 by buying bigger houses than they could afford based on stated income they didn't have. It was that group of people who made the mistakes. So you're right. The parents of the greatest generation, I mean, the kids of the greatest generation, they're the most entitled. Millennials are really pretty good kids right now, in spite of us. They really are. The stats back that up too. 34% of them live with their parents. I got big issues with that. But 66% of them are out there doing a damn good job. They got more money in the bank. They're doing the right thing with their money. The majority of them do a great job. By the way, while 34% of millennials live with their mom and dad in their basement in their old bedroom, 62% of boomers support their millennial kids financially. 62%. You got 2/3 of millennials doing a great job, and you got 2/3 of boomers out there giving their kids money. Maybe it's the problem with the boomers.
Right. Well, it's funny because I saw one day I was reading this article and it was the boating industry, and the boating industry was blaming the millennials for their lack of sales because millennials weren't going out and buying boats. And I go, so how's that their fault? Because they're smart enough to go, I can't afford a boat or don't want to. I can
Yeah.
rent a boat a lot cheaper. So because they're smart enough to not waste their money on something that they don't see a great use for, that's not an asset, you're going to blame them for your slow sales. I go, what happened to capitalism? I thought that's on you, that you need to make your product, viable, not sit there and blame an entire generation because you haven't figured out how to keep your business afloat. No
Yeah.
pun intended. So you're right.
Hey, this has been a good conversation. I've had a good time.
Well, good. I'm glad you did. I was really excited about having you on. I mean, it's especially for a startup podcast like mine, where I can have a celebrity such as yourself, who's written 7 books now that are bestsellers, and I just appreciate your viewpoints because you're not afraid to tell the truth, and you're not afraid to call out whatever side and show the truth on both sides, where I think that's such a rarity nowadays. I think you have these pundits who are one side or the other, and they just are dishonest. And I really appreciate your genuineness and your honesty in it.
I appreciate that. I try to come down on the side of common sense and core values, and that shouldn't be political. That shouldn't be based on age. It shouldn't be based on gender or race or anything else. It's just be a good person who does the right thing. That's all.
Dr. Dennis Kimbrough said something. He said, "Don't ever compromise your integrity, ever." And I agree. And it's the same thing that you're saying. It's just like, be a good person and be an honest person, and quit following the herd, and quit putting yourself in a bubble to where you feel like you have to say exactly what everyone else says. If you're afraid of getting attacked, then just don't say anything at all. But don't sit there and give the herd more power by sitting there and regurgitating their talking points. So real quick, I know that you kind of slowed down because you said, "Oh, I'm just stepping back," because you're getting tired of all the nonsense. So what do you do nowadays?
Well, I do a lot of this. I do a big event every year with 2 of my buddies called the Ultimate Business Summit. We've had to convert from an in-person event to an online event this year. I still do an event with Suzanne Evans where we coach speakers and authors and people on building a brand. I help people with messaging and writing and how to do their speech and keynotes and all that sort of stuff. How to grow up and be me, basically. Uh, and I still do a lot of writing. So
Obviously, I'm jealous because I'm sitting here going, you've written 7 books so far, and I know you're writing another one. I'm like, I can't get through my first one.
I'll have 3 come out this year. I got 35 people
Wow.
in the coaching program right now that these 35 people, I've been helping them birth their book. So yeah, I do a lot of book coaching. So
I might have to take you up on that because, like you said, yeah, I sit there and go, yeah, I want to write a book, but I haven't gotten to that point where I'll do whatever it takes yet. So
there you go. Here's the key to writing a book: put your ass in a chair and type.
there you go.
That's
All
it.
right. So if people want to reach you for for them to learn how to write a book or for your personal coaching services, where can they find you?
If you want to know anything about me, go to larrywinget.com. Everything's on there, just larrywinget.com. I'm easy to find. If you want to read something I've written, all the books are in stores or on Amazon or wherever.
And you're on all the social media like Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff and LinkedIn.
Everything but Twitter.
Everything but Twitter. Yeah, I don't blame you. I've got a Twitter account and I never say anything on it. I
shut mine down, and there are about 20 other Larry Wingets on there already using my pictures and stuff. So
are you serious?
Oh yeah. They can have it. I don't care. I'm out.
Yeah. Well, Larry, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and it's been a joy. And if you ever want to come back on when your new book comes out or whatever, I know you've got a million podcasts that you can do and do that are much bigger than mine. And but if you ever want to come back on, I'd love to have you. But thank you so much. You've been a great guest.
Thank you for having me.
All right, folks. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. You have a great weekend, and until next time, take care and stay safe.